Hello, good evening, Gilbert. How are you? Is everything okay?
Yes, teacher, I'm okay.
Great, that's good to know, Gilbert. So let's start working. Today, we have to work with this article. All right, it's going to be a BBC article, and we're going to do the usual. All right, I'm going to select the part we're going to read, and we're going to go part by part. So this is the headline, Gilbert. Let's begin reading this, please.
How past pandemic may have caused Parkinson?
Okay, thank you very much. So here, if you realize, you're going to see how previous pandemics, right, before the coronavirus, it's probable that they may have caused Parkinson to some people. So here we're going to know if also perhaps coronavirus is going to have effects on people as these other pandemics had. All right. I want to know if you have any questions about the headline before going ahead here.
No.
Okay. So, being clear, the headline, we can go now to the first part. Here we're going to analyze this one. Let's read this, please, Gilbert.
Okay. Surviving a pandemic isn't always the end of the story. Some virus can have health effect that linger on for decades, eventually leading to a range of devastating diseases.
Okay, thank you, Gilbert. So we're going to practice some of these words, all right? I know they are new, but let's practice together. This first, Gilbert, is going to be surviving.
Surviving.
There you go, right? So sobrevivir o sobreviviendo. Then this one, viruses.
Viruses.
One more time, and this is more like ooh, so it's going to be viruses. One more time, please.
Viruses.
There you go, right? So one virus, two viruses, right? Plural. This one, I know you know, but let's practice them together. Health effects. Health effects.
Health effects.
Okay.
Health effects.
Good. Linger.
Linger. Who means linger?
Okay, linger means like persistir o seguir en un lugar. All right, linger on, persist, or even continue, continuar de alguna manera. All right, linger on. This one, decades.
Decade.
Good. And devastating.
Devastating.
Good. Diseases.
Diseases.
Good. One disease, una enfermedad. Diseases, enfermedades. Right? So devastating diseases, enfermedades devastadoras.
Okay.
All right. So if we understand this one, si entendemos esto, it says the following. Dice lo siguiente. Surviving a pandemic, ¿no? Sobrevivir a una pandemia isn't always the end of the story, ¿no? No es siempre el final de la historia. Some viruses can have health effects that linger on for decades. Algunos viruses, ¿no? Pueden tener, o virus, pueden tener efectos, ¿no? En la salud que pueden persistir, permanecer por décadas. Exactly, right? Eventually leading to a range of devastating diseases. Eventualmente llevando, okay? Lead means liderar, but leading aquí significa que lleva a un punto en específico. All right, so in this case, leading to a range va a llegar a qué? A una amplia variedad de enfermedades devastadoras. Okay, so that's what we want to know here. Es lo que queremos saber en este artículo. Si el coronavirus también tiene esos efectos a la larga. All right, so let's take a look. In the next part, we have these elements here. Let's read these two paragraphs, please.
Okay. In the 1096, epidemiology, studying the long-term prognosis or survival of the 2018 Spanish influenza began to notice an unusual trend uh, two who were born between 1888 and 1924, meaning they were 80 infants or in young adults at the time of the pandemic, appeared to have been 2 or 3 times more likely to develop Parkinson. The diseases, disease at some point in their life than those born at different time. Um, it was a striking finding for why the funding for why the potential neuro consequence of flu infection have been documented by doctors for centuries. There are medical reports of the which date back to 3085. The sheer scale of the Spanish flu, which infects around 500 million people globally, mean essences clothing a heightened risk of disease to the pandemic.
All right, thank you, Gilbert. So good. This one you read it good at the beginning, right? It's okay. Disease, right? So this is going to be disease. Good. So we're going to practice one more time, but great. Let's practice these ideas, please, Gilbert. En los años, ¿no? Es mejor como lo hiciste en estas dos partes, ¿no? Lo dividiste en dos, ¿verdad? Y así está mucho mejor. Entonces, aquí sería lo mismo. It's the same. So it's going to be 1960s. All right, 1960s.
Okay.
Good. Epidemiologist.
Epidemiologist.
Uh-huh. And also you need the last TS. Epidemiologists.
Yes, epidemiologists.
Okay. Then this one, remember the I, so survivors.
Survivors.
Good. Supervivientes. Right? Here, this. How would it be this, Gilbert? How do you read this?
1880.
Close, but this one, right?
1980.
18, exactly, right? 1918. Or if you want, you can say 1918. But no, it's better if you say 1918. Good.
1918.
Spanish. There you go. To notice, no, anotar. Anotar que no notice no como noticia, sino como notar. Darse cuenta de algo. To notice unusual. Unusual.
Unusual.
Great. Inusual, right? So this is the same. You did it good. This is good.
1924.
There you go. Y this one, the E, esa E tiene que desaparecer. It's going to be more like likely. Likely. Good. Very good. One more time, this one, please, Gilbert.
Disease.
Disease. Good. Right, a disease. Then, lo mismo que estabas haciendo acá, ¿verdad? Al principio dijiste finding, but it's going to be finding. No, lo mismo acá. En lugar de striking, it's going to be striking. There you go. Right? So it was a striking finding. So it's like era un encuentro o una, sí, algo que has encontrado que es sorprendente. Okay, striking es muy parecido a surprising. Yeah, sorprendente. Then neurological consequences. Neurological consequences.
Neurological consequence.
Okay, good. And remember, consequence is going to be one consequence, but in plural, consequence. Y aquí sí se nota un poco la E, sería como consequences.
Consequences.
There you go. Neurological consequence. Good. This one, how would it be this one, Gilbert?
1385.
Good. 1385. Very good.
¿Qué dijo
This
yo?
one, remember, one more time, Gilbert.
¿Qué dije yo?
It was more like 30. Se escuchó como un 30 en lugar de 13.
Yeah, 1380. Okay.
85. Exactly. Good. This one, the ED, how would it be the ED?
Infected.
It's okay, this one like E, so infected.
Infected.
There you go. This one, how will you read this one?
Mint. Mind.
Ok. En la forma base hasta la N, ¿no? Esa es la forma base que significa querer decir, significar, y tener la intención, ya, mean. Pero cuando tiene una T, que es el pasado, se convierte a E, meant. Meant.
Okay.
Exactly. Good.
Meant.
And this one is done, right? This is, so you have it done. Good. So here, first I want to know if you have any questions. Primero quiero saber si tienes una pregunta y después vamos a tratar de ver las palabritas más interesantes. Do you have any questions here, Gilbert?
No.
Okay, good. Now, but let's check. Vamos a hacer énfasis en palabras interesantes.
Yes.
And like this one. So here, prognosis in English, right? Esto va a significar como un pronóstico o una predicción, right? The prognosis of survival, pronóstico. Then trend is like tendencia, right? Una tendencia. Then you have, this is easy, right? Infants, no infantes, and young adulthood, no? La adultez temprana o de los jóvenes. Then here you have, it's clear. This is clear, right? Like surprising, striking.
Striking.
Good, right? Lo sorprendente. Then sheer is like saying la pura o la mera escala. It's like without any interference, sin ninguna interferencia. That's the sheer, okay? Pura o mera, like in Spanish. All right, sheer.
La oración completa sería la pura escala.
Of the Spanish flu, which infected significa que los científicos no podrían conectar, ¿no?, un elevado riesgo de la enfermedad a la pandemia. It means the following, significa lo siguiente, que solamente la escala de esta influenza nos puede mostrar esta conexión con lo que es el Parkinson. Okay. All right, that's in other words. Good, and I think that's it, Gilbert. Those are some important words. And as you were able to see, heightened is like elevado, riesgo, right? And that's it, Gilbert. Do you have any questions about this part? Let me know, please.
No, teacher.
Great, there you go. So let's finish here, please, Gilbert. As always, I'm going to ask you to fill out the survey. It's over there for you to do it. Answer the questions, and then you may leave today's conversation.
Okay, teacher. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good night. So, Mauricio, you're here. How are you, Mauricio? Is everything okay?
How are you, teacher? Good evening.
Hello. Good
yes, is everything okay, teacher? I think.
Great. That's great to know, Mauricio. So then let's start with today's practice. Today, we're going to work with an article. It's a very interesting one, all right? It's related to science. I like to work with this type of articles, and mainly because you can learn a lot of new vocabulary, expressions, facts, and it's also always very useful. So to start with this one, Mauricio, we're going to read the headline, and we're going to try to make some ideas of what this article is going to be about. So let's read this one, please, Mauricio.
How past pandemics may have caused Parkinson's?
All right, thank you. So what can you tell me just by reading the headline, Mauricio? What is this article going to be about? And second, is this article going to tell us something for sure or only some possibilities? What do you say?
I think is they are talking about possibilities because it's uncertain to predict something using a past. Mm, I'm a little confused, teacher, because it is it is how can I say I think a law in statistics that you can predict something that is going to happen when you have enough enough how can I say datos data.
You can data, enough data or information, evidence, proof.
Yes, when you have enough proof or data, you can predict the something that is going to happen. But I think that uh, health has improved in the last I don't know 20 or 30 years, that it is going to affect in this case the pandemic's effects over the humanity.
All right, it's interesting what you're telling me here. This article is giving us this statement in the form of a possibility, but a conclusion, right? In the past, that perhaps past pandemics, right, may have caused, we don't know, Parkinson's. So this is an idea that they are giving. They are going to show some evidence. They are going to show some information that is interesting and important to understand this statement. But what is the connection that you can make to today's pandemic, which is the coronavirus, Mauricio? Why do you think this is the topic that they decided to work on? And this is a topic that is from, as you can see here, in January the 31st. All right, so it's very recent. So why do you think that they are trying to work with this topic?
Um, I don't know, maybe some research from medical institution, and they found out that it's probably that in the next years, I think 10 or like 15 years, there's going to be a Parkinson um, aumento. Um,
Can be a rise in Parkinson's cases, or an increase, right, in the cases of Parkinson.
yes,
Okay.
an increase in the Parkinson cases. I think
Okay.
it is about a research they have found.
Okay, good. And here they are specifically mentioning past pandemics, right? What is the last pandemic that you remember or that you know that happened before the coronavirus, Mauricio?
I think I don't know if it's correct. The fever, black fever.
Okay, we're going to see. All right, we're going to see. But there were many pandemics, right? There were many pandemics before the coronavirus. And this data, this information is going to show results of those previous pandemics to see if it's possible that they can cause things like Parkinson, and to see the connection also with coronavirus, right? So that's the idea. But let's read the article to see what's really going to happen there. But do you have any questions about this first part, Mauricio?
No, teacher.
Okay, so again, it's always important to try to guess, right, what's going to happen next. So the next part is going to be this one, which is very interesting as well, and it gives us more idea. So let's read this, please, Mauricio.
Surviving a pandemic isn't always the end of the story. Some viruses can have health effects that linger on for decades, eventually leading to a range of devastating diseases.
Okay, thank you very much, Mauricio. Now, before working on the details, let's work these words, please. This one, remember, this E is going to become more like I, so it's going to be surviving.
Surviving.
Good. And read this one more time, please. I think it's correct. Only one detail. How do you read this
Decades.
one? No, it was close to the other one, just this A more like A, so decades. Decades.
Oh, okay. Decades.
There you go, right? It's similar to Spanish, right? I know you know the meaning. But now, the general information then, Mauricio, what can you tell me about this? Surviving a pandemic isn't always the end of the story. How can you explain this in your own words?
That maybe you think that the end of the pandemic is when there is no more cases or there's um, um, I think a medical pill that can help it, but there is no the really end because sometimes and there are a lot of um, I think I don't know yeah, there are a lot of consequences because of the pandemic, and there are related about health problems.
Okay, good, good. Just the last part, everything was very good, right? So related to, instead of related about, it's better if you say related to. Great, great. They are related to health problems. Very good. Now, just to be sure, and also so that you can add this to your vocabulary, what is a possible synonym, according to you, according to the context, Mauricio, of linger on? What is to linger on?
And that last
Okay, that's very similar. Last, what other words come to your mind? You can work on a brainstorm, right? If I tell you to brainstorm this idea, what other words come to your mind when you read linger on in this context?
last um, continue, maybe continue.
Okay, good. Even simple words as that, those ones, right? They are correct. So to last, to continue, to persist, right? To persist. Because linger on means actually that one. It's when something is still there, even more time than you thought it was going to be. Okay, that's more or less the definition. Something that stays there longer than you thought it would. But again, the words to continue, to persist, to last are very related to it. Great. I don't know if you have any questions about this first part, Mauricio.
And no teacher.
All right. Now we're going to go to the first. I know we have 3 minutes, but let's take advantage of that time. Let's read these two paragraphs, please, Mauricio.
Okay. In the 1960s, epidemiologists studying the long-term prognosis of survivors of the 1918 Spanish influenza began to notice an unusual trend. Those who were born between 1888 and 1924, meaning they were either infants or in youth adulthood at the time of the pandemic, appear to have been 2 or 3 times more likely to develop Parkinson's disease at some point of their life than those born at different times. It was a striking finding, for while the potential neurological consequences of flu infections have been documented by doctors for centuries. There are medical reports of this which date back to 1385. The sheer scale of the Spanish flu, which infected around 500 million people globally, meant scientists could link a heightened, heightened risk of disease to the pandemic.
Okay, thank you very much, Mauricio. I think everything was very good. I'm only going to verify two little words at the end, all right? There are going to be these two, because everything else was very good. Read those two one more time, please, Mauricio.
Meant
Good. And the other one?
heightened.
Huh? It's good. This one is okay, meant, and this is also good. But remember, as the N is not a strong consonant, you're going to delete that E. So how would it be in that case?
Heightened.
And as you delete the E, it's only going to be heightened, heightened, right? Like instead of it. One more time, please, Mauricio. Heightened.
Heightened.
There you go. Good. So let's now try to understand everything globally. What can you tell me in general about those two paragraphs, Mauricio?
That some researches are being found that they are collecting information since old times, like it said, I think 1385, and they have found that people who survived the old pandemics, I think was the Spanish influenza, the Spanish influenza. They reached that these people was tending to have Parkinson. Parkinson.
Okay, good, good. We have information, right, that lead us to the fact that, yes, people who were born in this period of time, and we're talking about the Spanish influenza time, which happened, right, let's say between these years over here, they had more possibilities, right, of getting this disease. So it's very interesting, right? Or you can say of developing this disease, getting this disease. And it's interesting because then there is evidence, right? There is evidence that shows that yes, there may be a connection between some type of pandemics, not all of the pandemics, but some type of pandemics, and some possible and future, right, consequences related to them. So the next question goes here, then Mauricio. Over here, let's try to understand this. First, what do you think is the meaning of prognosis in this context?
I'm sorry, teacher, what was the question?
Yeah, it's related to prognosis. In the context, right? What is the meaning or a similar idea to prognosis, Mauricio? What do you say?
I think the consequences of talking about health, like like a consequence. I don't know, when you do a lot of hard work, trying to, I don't know, bad work, you're going to have a prognosis in the back in the future.
Okay, actually, in this case, it's not related always to something that is negative. right? But yes, it's related to the future. It's related to some consequences, could be, but you can simply sometimes translate this idea to a prediction, a foretelling, okay? To foretell or to predict something. So they are saying here, studying the long-term prediction of survivors, right, of the 1918 influenza, right? Because they wanted to know what would happen with those people who had that disease or that illness. Now, the next one is going to be here in Mauricio, and it's related to, let me see where it is. Okay, this one. This is a very interesting word. How can you interpret, or what is a possible synonym or similar word to sheer in that case?
High, high, I think high, big.
Okay, in this case, more than an adjective that describes the size, it's only going to determine, all right, if it has other type of influence or no. Because sheer, in this case, it's very similar to pure, all right, to pure, or if you want, even only. So it means the pure scale, the scale without any interference, is going to give us this idea that there is a very high risk of disease, all right, linked to the pandemic. Again, the sheer scale means the scale without any other information, the pure scale, the mere scale, without any other information, but only the scale. All right, I don't know if you have any questions about that one, Mauricio. Let me know, please.
No, teacher.
Okay, good. So I think those two words are really interesting, and also we have some other words, but I think are even clearer to be understood just by reading the context, right? Do you have any questions before finishing? Let me know, please, Mauricio.
No, teachers, everything is clear.
Great, that's good to know. So let's finish here then, please. As always, I'm going to ask you to fill out the survey, Mauricio. It's down below next to chat. You can answer those questions and then you may leave the conversation.
Okay, teacher.
Great, thank you very much then, Mauricio. Have a good night and see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, teacher. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, good evening, Rodrigo. How are you? Is everything okay?
Hi, teacher. Good evening. Yes, it's okay.
Great, that's good to know, Rodrigo. So let's start with today's practice, please. Today we're going to work with some reading. We have this BBC article, Future, and it's a very recent one. I always try to show you recent news. This is from the January 31st, all right? And it's related to this headline. So let's start reading the headline, please, Rodrigo. This one over here.
How past pandemics may have caused Parkinson's.
All right, it's a very short and a very simple headline, right? But let's try to understand this and try to guess what we're going to be reading in this article, right, in detail. So just by reading this headline, Rodrigo, what can you tell me about the article? What kind of information are we going to be reading?
Maybe that the um, that the reason for the Parkinson maybe can be the the pandemics, the other pandemics before the last one.
Okay, that can be one possibility, right? Perhaps you are going to show us that there's a connection between Parkinson's, right, and the previous pandemic, but in a very sure way. But when you read this one, Rodrigo, may have caused, do you think that the article is going to give us clear and 100 all right sure evidence that this is something that is real, or are they only going to talk about possibilities and show us data and information to say that it's only possible but it's not for sure? What do you say?
Um, uh, I think that I don't know, teacher. In this case, I don't.
Okay, it's okay, but again, just by reading may have, we know that we use may have when we are not sure about something, right? So in this article, they are telling us that actually they don't know. Perhaps it's possible that past pandemics may have caused Parkinson's, but the article doesn't know. But they are going to show us some information to see that it's possible. Not something for sure, but it's a possibility, right? So with that in mind, let's go to the first part, please, Rodrigo, and let's read this first information, please.
Okay. Surviving a pandemic isn't always the end of the story. Some viruses can have health effects that linger on for decades, eventually leading to a range of devastating disease.
All right, thank you, Rodrigo. We're going to work some words and then we're going to understand everything together. First, let's start here. This is interesting, right? The word the has two possible ways of being pronounced, right? It can be the or it can be the. When you have a vowel after this article, then it's going to be more like E. So it's going to be like the end. All right, let's repeat that one, please, Rodrigo. The end.
The end.
All right. This one, this A becomes like A, right? So it's going to be decades.
Decade.
One more time, but the stress is here, right? Like the invisible accent, no? Un acento invisible. So decades.
Okay.
Okay, good. Here the same, eventually. And this T is very strong, like eventually, eventually.
Eventually.
All right. This one, remember, this A is over here, so devastating, devastating.
Devastating.
Devastating, a devastating. Good. And one disease, two diseases, right? So diseases.
Disease.
All right, good. Now let's try to explain this, Rodrigo. In your own words, how can you explain this first part, Rodrigo?
Well, in this case, it's talk, this paragraph is talking that uh, the consequences of the pandemic, because uh, the end of this, uh, it it's not the uh, final stage of the problems, maybe something for that.
Okay, good. Something like that, right? Yes, exactly, right? We can divide perhaps the pandemics like events in stages, right? The first stage, second, but it has one that it's after it finishes, because when it's done, it's not like it's over, right? There are some consequences or effects after that one. So to understand this, I also have one question related to this, Rodrigo. What is a possible synonym of linger on, using the context, Rodrigo? You can brainstorm if you want. What are all the words that come to your mind when you read linger on?
No, I don't have idea.
All right, in this case, if you analyze, it says, right, some viruses can have health effects that for decades. So we're talking about something that happens for a long period of time. So if you brainstorm, you can come up with words like continue, persist, or last. All right, last, continue, persist. It means to linger on, or linger on, Rodrigo, means something that stays in a place longer than you expected. Okay, longer than you expected. So you expected that the pandemic was going to be only 1 year, 2 years, but the consequences are there for decades. So you can say it lingered on. It means it persisted. It was there longer than I thought it would be. All right, that's it. Also, leading. How can you explain this word over here, Rodrigo? Eventually leading to a range of devastating diseases.
The same thing. I don't know the word.
All right, and again, you can try to guess with other words. If you analyze, it says eventually leading to a, so it means that this is taking something to a place, right? Let me use the, so if you are leading, you are the leader, right? It is a leader. And if you lead, it means you take people from one place to another place, right? It means here that the pandemic, all right, this pandemic is going to lead to what? To a range of other devastating diseases. It's taking people, okay, the pandemic is taking people to have some other diseases. More or less, it would be like that, Rodrigo. I don't know if you understand these words just by those extra ideas, Rodrigo. Linger on and leading. Do you have any questions about those?
Linger on. I get. Leading. No, very much.
All right. Again, leading. Do you know what's a leader? Right? Do you know what's the meaning of? Sorry. Do you know what's a leader?
What's the meaning of leader?
Leader. Leader. It's in the chat. In Spanish, we use the same word, but instead of EA, we use only I. Right? In Spanish, we say this. Right? That's the leader. So what is a leader? A leader is a person that leads people. Right? Okay. So a leader leads. Right? Lidera. Okay. So it means that the leader is going to take one person to another place by leading it, right? I'm going to lead you to victory, for example, right? I'm leading you to victory. So in this case, the pandemic is going to lead to what? To a range of devastating diseases. It means it's going to be like the consequence. It's where we are going to arrive. That's more or less the idea of leading. I don't know if it helps, Rodrigo.
No, it's okay.
Great, that's good to know. So again, then today let's stay with those two words, please, Rodrigo. Linger on, to persist, to be there longer than expected, to continue, and leading, right? To get from one place to another place because there is someone or something that is leading you, that is taking you from that place to another place, from one state to another state. All right, that would be it. So do you have any extra questions or comments before finishing? Let me know,
please. No, teacher. It's okay.
Okay, then we're going to keep working. It's a very long article. It's also a very interesting one. The next conversation, then, Rodrigo, we're going to continue working the next paragraphs because there are very interesting words that we need to know over there. All right, but today let's finish here, please, because of the time. The survey is already down below, Rodrigo. Please open that up, and then you can answer the questions, please.
Okay, so
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good night and see you tomorrow, Rodrigo.
see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye. Hello, good evening, Joanna. How are you? Is everything okay?
Hello, teacher. Good evening.
Good evening. How do you feel today, Joanna?
Good, teacher.
Great. That's good to know. Today, we're going to work with an article this time, Joanna, all right, to practice reading and also to learn some new words. This is going to be the article, so let's begin with this first part, please, Joanna, the headline.
How past pandemics may have caused Parkinson's.
Okay, there you go, right? So Parkinson's, we know that, right? It's a disease, it's una enfermedad, Parkinson's. Let's just practice this one, please, Joanna. Remember, AU is going to be more like O, and ED is going to be more like T in this case. So it's going to be cost, cost.
Cost.
All right, good. So the headline is telling us that how past pandemics, como pandemias anteriores, may have costs, pueden haber causado, right? May have costs, pueden haber causado el Parkinson, right? Parkinson's. And we're going to see the connection also with coronavirus. That is the headline about Joanna. Do you have any questions about the headline?
No, teacher. Teacher, I
Yes.
don't understand. What is the meaning? Headlines?
One more time, please. The meaning of what?
Yeah, you say in last part one paragraph. La última parte que dijo en el parágrafo que dijo, o la frase que dijo.
I don't remember what you're telling me about. So in this headline, there's the headline, Joanna.
Yes.
It's not clear.
Yes. What is the meaning? The headline.
Okay, headline. Headline means título. It's related to articles. All right, es como decir un título. But you can say the title. Title es título en general. But in articles, en artículos, en revistas, en publicaciones de este tipo, instead of title, no le llamas título, le llamas headline. Ya es como el título. Or even like in the newspapers, ¿no? Como en los periódicos, el titular. All right, that's the headline. And headline is like this. Let me write it. It's in the chat, right? Headline. So good. That was the headline. Now we're going to read the first paragraph, right? This is the first idea, Joanna. Let's read this, please.
Solving a pandemic isn't always the end of the story. Some virus can have health effects that linger on for decades, eventually leading a rate of devastating disease.
Okay, thank you very much, Joanna. Here, I know we have a lot of new words, but we're going to practice, okay? We're going to practice all these words. So this one, as you see, there's an E, so that E changes to I. So it's going to be surviving. Let's repeat that one, please.
Surviving.
Good, ¿no? Sobrevivir, sobreviviendo. Sobrevivir a una pandemia no es siempre bla, 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 right? Surviving. Then in Spanish, yes, virus, but in English, virus, singular, and in plural, viruses, all right? Viruses. Let's repeat this one, please.
Viruses.
Viruses, good. This one, effects. Effects,
Effects.
good. Very similar to Spanish, right? Décadas. But here is going to be decades. Decades.
Decades.
Good. That A becomes A, so it's going to be range.
Range.
This one, that A also, devastating. Devastating.
Devastating.
Good, no? Devastador, devastadora. And disease, singular, diseases, plural. So diseases.
Diseases.
There you go, right? Enfermedades. So if you understand this idea, I'm going to help you out. It says, surviving a pandemic, ¿no? Sobrevivir una pandemia isn't always the end of the story. No es siempre el final de la historia, right? Some viruses can have health effects. Algunos virus, ¿no? Pueden tener efectos en la salud. That linger on, this is something that you need to know, Joanna. Linger on means like persistir o continuar, all right? That linger on for decades, ¿no? Que continúan o persisten por décadas. Eventually leading to, ¿no? Eventualmente llevándonos a range of devastating diseases, ¿no? A un rango de enfermedades devastadoras. All right, so that's the idea. This is the first part. Let me know if you have any questions about this, please, Joanna.
Teacher, what is the meaning? Leading?
Leading, I was explaining this. You know what's the meaning of leader? All right, it's in the chat. What is leader? What is a leader? It's a person, right? What is a leader, Joanna? Do you understand that one?
No, it's is one person first.
Okay, good. The person that is at first, right? The person that is at the top, ¿no? Que está en la cabeza. It's at the top, at the head. So what does a leader do? What is the action for the leader? Action leads, right? Lidera. So lead is a verb, liderar. So if you say the leader is leading, it's like el líder está liderando o llevándonos a algún lugar, right? So here, leading means eventualmente llevando o llevándonos, all right? Leading es algo que guía o que lleva a algún lugar, ¿ya? Porque le está liderando ese lugar. In this case, it's not only for people, no solamente para personas. You can use lead for objects, se puede usar para objetos también. In this case, the pandemic led, all right, or led, no, la pandemia lideró o llegó a qué? To a range of devastating diseases, no, a un rango de devastadoras enfermedades, all right? So, llevar, liderar, that's the meaning of leading. Do you have any questions about that, Joanna?
No, teacher.
All right, so let's continue. But first, before working on that, esta es una práctica extra para poder asegurarnos de la pronunciación. Let's read one more time. Una vez lo voy a leer yo y asegúrate de tener la pronunciación correcta en todito. It's going to be like this. Surviving a pandemic isn't always the end of the story. Some viruses may have health effects that linger on for decades, eventually leading to a range of devastating diseases. All right, now your turn, please, Joanna. Read everything.
Surviving a pandemic isn't always the end of the story. Some viruses can have health effects and that linger on for decades, eventually leading or a range of devastating diseases.
Okay, it was very good in general. En general, muy bien. 2 words. Vamos a practicar solamente 2 palabritas. Esta ahí, solamente como I. Linger.
Linger.
Good. And this one was good, devastating, but this one, diseases. Good, muy bien, ¿ya? Y algunos estabas insegura, lo dijiste bien, pero para que te quede entonces nuevamente, surviving, viruses, linger, decades, range, devastating, and diseases. All right. Do you have any questions about pronunciation? Let me know, please.
No.
All right. Let's go to the next part then, Joanna. Only the first paragraph. This one over here. Read this one, please.
In the 1960s, okay. Epidemiologists studying the long-term prognosis of survivors of the 1918 Spanish influence began to notice an unusual trend. Those two were between 1980 and 1924, meaning they were either in fast or in young adults. At the time of the pandemic, apparent to have been 2 or 3 times more likely to develop Parkinson's disease at some point in their life than those ones at different times.
Thank you, Joanna. Good. In many parts, en muchas partes se dice una lógica súper buena. It's, for example, unusual, right? Perfecto. Unusual. Infants, young, Parkinson's, appear, develop, likely, all right? Follow that logic. Nuevamente, a veces no confiamos en nosotros, pero si confías más en ti, vas a poder pronunciar de mucha mejor manera. Lo dices súper bien. In these ones, en estos, solamente es que encajes esta lógica. Here, en los años cuando ves una S al final, simplemente haces la S al final. Así que va a ser 1960s. 1960s. Let's repeat that one, please.
1960s.
Right. It's like in Spanish when you say en los 60s, right? 1960s. Es la misma lógica que aquí arriba. ¿Te acuerdas? Arriba decía surviving en lugar de surviving.
Right.
Entonces aquí también es lo mismo. Exactly. Survivors, right? Let's repeat that one, please.
Survivors.
There you go, right? Supervivientes. This is okay, está bien, solamente el stress. ¿Te acuerdas? Hay acentos invisibles en inglés. La gente dice que no hay acentos en inglés, pero hay. Aquí el acento está en esta parte. Notice, en la primera parte. Notice.
Notice.
Notice. One more time, please.
Notice.
Good. Esta T cambia como a una especie de D y la CE se cambia como una S. Es como si dijeses N-O-D-S. Notice. Good. Notice. This no significa noticia. That means notar o darte cuenta de algo. Okay, to notice. Unusual trends. This one more time. How do you read this one, Joanna?
18.
Okay, close one. Remember, but this one is going to be 18, right? So
Okay.
18 en lugar de 19. 18, 18, 80, 88, 8, right? 1888. One more time, please.
1888.
There you go. Good. This one is going to be adulthood. Adulthood.
Adulthood.
And young adulthood is como una adultez temprana. All right, adulthood. Then this one, ese no te olvides, ese era diseases, ¿no? Esa EA se vuelve I, diseases. Entonces esto va a ser solamente disease, right? Like E. Let's read this, please, Johanna. Disease.
Disease.
One more time. Y si te das cuenta nuevamente también el acento está acá, en esa I. La EA se vuelve I, entonces disease, disease.
Disease.
There you go, exacto. ¿Y por qué se insiste con los acentos invisibles? Porque se va a ver que palabras pueden significar una cosa diferente si tienen el estrés en la primera parte, en la segunda parte o al medio. All right, that's why it's important to have that one. But good, to finish then, Joanna, para terminar, survivors, right, supervivientes, to notice, anotar, trend, tendencia, adulthood, adultez, disease, enfermedad, right? Born, nacidos. Do you have any questions about this part before finishing? Let me know, please, Joanna. It can be about meaning or pronunciation. Puede ser de significado o pronunciación.
No, teacher.
There you go. Then let's finish here. I don't know if you were able to answer the questions already, Joanna. In the survey. Were you able to answer the questions?
I complete the survey and the join.
Okay, good, right? When you joined, right? When I joined. Okay, thank you then, Joanna. Have a good night then and see you tomorrow, all right?
See you, teacher.
Bye-bye, see you. And you're here, Adriana. Good evening, Adriana. How are you?
Hi, teacher, I'm fine.
Great, that's good to know, Adriana. So let's start with today's practice, please. Today we have an article, and this is the headline of the article. Let's read it, please, Adriana, to start with this.
How past pandemics may have caused Parkinson's.
All right, there you go, right? Parkinson's. So it's interesting because this is related to COVID-19, right? To the coronavirus, but they are going to talk about other pandemics, right? Now, I have only one question before starting, Adriana. What other pandemics do you know besides the coronavirus, the COVID-19? What other pandemics happened to humanity? What do you know about it?
La gripe española, la peste negra.
Okay, so you have the Spanish flu or the Spanish influenza, and you have the Black Death, right? Peste negra, the Black Death. All right. Which of those two, or which of the pandemics in general, Adriana, was the last one before the coronavirus?
I think that is a Spanish flu. Maybe.
All right, good. And yes, you're right. The last well-known pandemic was the Spanish flu. It was going to be the HVI, even SIDA, but it's not considered a pandemic. Pero no es considered una pandemia, right? It's only the Spanish flu. Good, very good. So with that in mind, but first, do you have any questions about this headline, Adriana?
No, teacher.
All right, so we're going to learn about previous past pandemics and the connection, all right, of those pandemics to what? To Parkinson's, right? Parkinson's is a terrible disease sometimes, but let's see the connection. Please, let's read this to start, Adriana.
Surviving a pandemic isn't always the end of the story. Some viruses can have health effects that linger on for decades, eventually leading to a range of devastating disease.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's only practice these words, please. I know this is a new word for you, Adriana, but before we're going to try to understand, first the pronunciation, only like g, linger,
linger,
linger, good. This one, that a, only like a, so devastating, devastating,
devastating,
good. And disease, only one disease, but this is plural, so it's going to be diseases.
diseases.
There you go. Great. Thank you. So, in general, before I explain the meaning of this, antes de explicar esto and maybe this, before that, how can you explain this, Adriana, in your own words, this information?
The meaning?
In general, about the entire paragraph, right? What is this paragraph about, Adriana? What is this paragraph telling us?
In pandemics, some viruses can have effects in the health or in effect, then we can develop disease.
Okay, good. Good. Some pandemics, right, can have effects on health in a long run, right, a largo plazo, and also they can develop diseases. Good. If I ask you this question, right, imagine this is a test, como si fuera un test, the TOEFL, let's say. If I ask you this, again, according to the article, when the coronavirus, all right, finds the cure, the vaccine, is that going to be the end of everything, or can we have more problems with the coronavirus? How can you answer that one, according to this article?
No, we can develop disease for many reasons.
Okay, yes, that's right? Finding a cure, being vaccinated, everything is going to be okay, but in the future, we can have some health problems because of that virus, right? In this case, the coronavirus. And here they are relating these to Parkinson, right? Could be. But now, in this context, Adriana, what do you understand with the phrasal verb linger on in context? Some viruses can have health effects that linger on for decades. What do you think is linger on? Anything that comes to your mind?
Linger on. Some viruses can have health. For example, when you stay for a long time.
Okay.
I don't know.
If it's related to that, it's okay, right? Remember, it's okay to try, and that's good for a long time. Yes, to linger on is when something persists in time, longer than we expected. All right, so linger on is persist, continue, last. All right, and the definition is again something that stays in a place or somewhere, all right, for longer than we expected that it was going to. All right, so that's linger on. Good. Persist, continue. And leading, how can you describe leading? Eventually leading to a range of devastating diseases.
Leading, eventually leading. Como como llevar, ¿cómo era llevar en inglés? No me acuerdo.
Yes, exactly. That's the word in Spanish, leading, because it's like this, right? This is a person, and you are leading the person, right? You're taking the person to another place. So yes, leading is to take something or someone from one place to another place or from one state to another state. For example, the pandemic is leading to a range of devastating diseases, right? The coronavirus is leading to other diseases, like, for example, Parkinson, right? So good. That is the one. Great. Any questions about this first part, Adriana? Let me know, please.
No, not teacher. No.
All right. Let's go to the first paragraph then. And we're going to finish with this one, but we have interesting ideas here. Let's read this one, please.
In the 1960s, epidemiologists studying the long-term prognosis of survivors of the 1918 Spanish influenza began to notice an unusual trend. Those who were born between 1888 and 1924, meaning they were either infants or in young adulthood at the time of the pandemic, appeared to have been 2 or 3 times more likely to develop Parkinson's disease at some point in their life than those born at different times.
All right, thank you, Adriana. Only 3 things to practice here. This one, it was okay, 1960, but when you have the yes, right, you're going to say 1960s. One more time, this one, please.
1960s.
There you go. This one, remember that a is going to sound more like e, so it's going to be began. Began.
Yes, began.
All right. And this one, this u is more like a, like unusual. Unusual.
Unusual.
Okay, there you go. Now, in general, Adriana, I'm going to ask you just one question, perhaps, or 2 maximum. The first question, why are they mentioning people who were born between 1888 and 1924? Why? What's the reason?
Again, teacher, the questions?
Yes, in this paragraph, right, in the article, why in the article are they mentioning people that were born between 1888 and 1924? Why? What is the reason of mentioning that range?
Because because the baby is born in the range, then have or start disease how like to Parkinson.
Okay, good, because the people, right, born in that range, right, good, started to develop Parkinson's disease, right, at a higher rate with higher possibilities. Good, very good. Only 2 things I'm going to help you out before finishing, Adriana, because of the time. Remember that this word, okay, prognosis is going to be like prediction, all right, a long-term prediction, a long-term foretelling, okay, prediction, in other words. And that's it. I think you know what's the meaning of this one, right? Young adulthood is like adultez temprana. That's it. I think those are the most important words over here to understand. And that's it. I don't know if you have any questions about other words or comments, Adriana, before finishing.
Nothing.
All right, let's finish here then. Next class, we're going to continue working with the next paragraphs. As always, please, Adriana, I'm going to ask you to fill out the survey. I don't know if you were able to do it already.
Listo.
Okay, thank you very much then for doing it. I'll see you tomorrow in class. Have a good night.
See you tomorrow, teacher. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And I'm here with you, Reader. How are you, Reader? Is everything okay?
Everything okay, teacher. Thanks.
Great, that's good to know, Reader. So today we're going to work with this article that is going to be related to coronavirus, but in an interesting way, all right? We're going to talk about past pandemics and the connection with some diseases that these pandemics may have caused. Let's read the headline to start this one, please, Reader.
How past pandemics may have caused Parkinson's.
All right, thank you, Reader. So just by reading the headline and this expression may have caused, I have one question. Is the article is going to show something that for sure 100% shows the connection between past pandemics and Parkinson's? Or is the pandemic, or is the article only going to show some information that shows the possible connection between these two, but we are not sure? What do you say? Which one is the correct idea?
Um, Connection between past pandemic teacher with the Parkinson.
Okay, good. And to be more specific, yes, it's the connection between past pandemics and Parkinson's, but only reading the headline, is the article going to show how 100% is for sure that it's like that, or is only going to show a possibility? What do you say?
A possibility, teacher.
Yes, correct, right? Because if not, the headline would have been how past pandemics caused Parkinson's, right? But we don't say cost, we only say may have costs, right? It means this is only a possibility. It's not something that is proven. So good. With that in mind, please let's continue reading this part, Reader. This one over here.
Okay. Surviving a pandemic isn't always the end of the story. Some viruses can have health effects that linger on for decades, eventually leading to a range of devastating diseases.
All right, thank you very much, Reader. We're going to practice only these words, please. And this one, remember, we're going to use the I instead of E, so it's going to be viruses. Let's repeat this one, please. Viruses.
Viruses.
Good. This G is only going to be like G, so it's going to be linger.
Linger.
Good. This A becomes A, so it's going to be decades.
Decades.
Good. Also the same here, more like A, so range.
Range.
Good. And here, don't forget about this part over here, so it's going to be devastating. Devastating.
Devastating.
Good. Now, that's it, Reader. In general, in your own words, how can you explain this first paragraph, Reader?
The title says surviving a pandemic is not always the end of the story, which means that after a pandemic, people can have health problems for a long time, and that can lead to many very dangerous diseases.
Very good. Great. I think that was perfectly paraphrased. All right. Very good, reader. Questions just to be sure about the meaning. What word can you use here, reader, to replace linger on? What word can you use to replace this phrasal verb?
Um, for a long time, teacher.
Okay, can be related to that. It's not incorrect, reader, but let's try to use one word to fit over there. For example, if you say, right, some viruses can have health effects that, if you say for a long time, for decades, right, I understand the idea, but it wouldn't work. What other word or words can you use to replace linger on? And we can read, some viruses can have health effects that for decades. What do you say? You can work on a brainstorm. You can tell me many words. What possible verbs can you use to replace linger on? Because the idea for a long time is okay.
Stay for a long time.
Okay, could be stay or continue, or even better, this one is going to be better, to persist in time, right? Or to persist. Good. Something that stays in a place, on a place longer than we expected. And the verbs that you can use sometimes to replace that idea are to continue or to persist mainly, right? Or even to stay in a certain situation as you're doing, reader, which is very good. The next one over here. What? Not only one word here, it can be an expression. What word or phrase, expression can you use here to replace leading to? Eventually leading to a range of devastating diseases.
Lead to something.
Okay, lead to something. It's going to be very similar right over here. Eventually lead to something, a range of, but instead of leading to, what other word or phrase or expression can you use to replace leading to? Because it's okay to let it to lead to something. But what is another word that is similar in this context?
I don't know, teacher. A consequence, result.
Great. Let's use the last one. And it's okay. Consequence, result. And if you realize here, you can say eventually resulting in a range of devastating diseases. All right. So leading to can be similar to resulting in. All right, because it's going to be the consequence of something. So very good. Linger on, persist, stay, continue, and leading to result in something. That's it. Do you have any questions about this first paragraph, reader?
No, teacher, it's clear.
Great. Let's go now to the next one, please. Let's read the next paragraph. This one over here, please.
Okay. In the 1960s, epidemiologists studying the long-term prognosis of survivors of the 1918 Spanish influenza began to notice an unusual trend. Those who were born between 1888 and 1924, meaning they were either infants or in young adulthood at the time of the pandemic, appeared to have been 2 or 3 times more likely to develop Parkinson's the disease at some point in their life than those born at different times.
Great, thank you. So again, in general, it was very good. We're going to work with these 3 marked ideas later on. But first, how can you explain this paragraph in your own words one more time, reader? You can paraphrase as you did before.
In the 1960, epidemiologists studying the survivors of the Spanish flu of 1918, they noticed that people born between 1888 and 1924 which means they were babies or young adults at the time of the pandemic, were 3 times more likely to have Parkinson.
All right, thank you, reader. Yes, right. Some research showed that people born in that period of time were more likely to develop this disease. It means that there's a possible connection or link between the Spanish influenza, the past pandemic, and this disease, the Parkinson, which is interesting, and it's important to know how we're going to work with coronavirus, right, and to avoid possible diseases. So it's great. I think the meaning of the paragraph is clear. Let's only read this one more time, please, reader. Can you read this one more time, please?
1960s.
Okay, yeah, it's okay. 1960s. It wasn't clear the first one. Good. This one. Where is the stress? How do you read this one more time?
Epidemiologists.
Okay, in this case, try to set the stress over here. I'm going to mark it. Over here, more like epidemiologist. Epidemiologist. One more time, please.
Epidemiologists.
Okay, good. And this one, the last one, please.
Inusual.
And in this case, as you have the W, and the first one is going to be word to sound like U, like university and sound out. The phonetic rule, all right, says that it has to sound more like like for example, uncomfortable and unusual. All right, so let's repeat that one, please, reader. Unusual.
Unusual.
Okay, and that's it. Do you have any questions about any words over here before finishing? Reader, let me know, please.
No, teacher, it's clear.
All right, just in case this one, okay, prognosis in this case is going to mean like a prediction, a foretelling, okay, a long-term prediction. That's it. With that information, please, let's finish now, reader. The survey is down below for you to complete it. Let me know when you do it, please.
I finished, teacher.
All right, thank you very much then. Have a good night and see you tomorrow, reader.
See you tomorrow, teacher.
Bye-bye. All right, now I'm with you, Camila. How are you, Camila? Is everything okay?
Good evening, teacher. Yes, everything is okay.
Great, that's great to know. So with you, as I told you before, we're going to be working with a video this time. This video is about dreams, all right, about dreaming, about dreams in general. Before watching the first part of the video, because we're going to learn some theories about dreaming, what do you know about dreams, hey, Camila? Do you know why we dream? Do you know something about them?
I think that I know a little bit. the thing I know is that we dream about things that we want or we desire is in our subconscious, maybe, and we work with the dreams work with that. Our fears, our dreams, things that we know, things that we have experienced in our lives, in our day.
Okay, good. That's really interesting. And actually, that's going to be related to the first theory, right? To the theory developed by psychoanalysis. And good, yes, that's something that Sigmund Freud said, right? Related to dreams. Good. Now, that's going to be only one of the many theories we're going to watch today, all right? But again, before watching them, one more question. When you say that the dreams are related to desires, to wants, to needs, and many other details that we have as humans, what do you mean? Can you give me an example of, for example, something that you dream and what is the possible meaning or something related to it?
And for example, about things that we desire, in my case, it can be make a master in the Netherlands. So sometimes I dream about it. So it's something that I want, but it doesn't happen yet.
Okay, thank you very much. Good. So let's have that in mind. I'm also going to keep that in mind, Camila, to try to contrast with the theories that we're going to watch and see the connection between your ideas and the theories that they are going to show us. All right, so here we go. This is the first part, only the introduction, very short. Here we go.
In the 3rd millennium BCE, Mesopotamian kings recorded and interpreted their dreams on wax tablets. 1,000 years later, ancient Egyptians wrote a dream book listing over 100 common dreams and their meanings. And in the years since, we haven't paused in our quest to understand why we dream. So, after a great deal of scientific research, technological advancement, and persistence, we still don't have any definite answers, but we have some interesting theories.
All right, so that's the introduction. I know it's very general, but it's important to get the idea. So what can you tell me about it, Camila?
Well, it talks about that in the 3rd millennium before Christ, in this case, there was already people like the Mesopotamics that wrote a book about how they dream. And after that, the Egyptians made a book about our dreams, how to interpret them.
Okay, good, right? So they are showing some facts, right? History about people in general and some civilizations that were interested in dreams. And my question goes here before going to the theories, Camila. Why? Why do you think are people so interested in knowing or trying to understand dreams?
Because, well, I think that it depends of the people, but they want to know what means to dream about something. Because sometimes when we went to sleep, we don't dream about anything. And sometimes happens that when you dream about something, that something comes true after a while or after days or months or years. So they want to know if they were dreaming, it was something that it was going to happen, or it was just a dream, just an idea, just a product of their imagination.
All right. Thank you very much, Camila. Yes, you're right. They want to know about the connection between the dream, right, and reality, because perhaps they are not only dreams. They have a connection with what's going to happen in next, right? So good. Now, here we're going to watch and listen to the first theory, and I'm going to ask you questions about this theory, all right? So let's listen to it.
We dream to fulfill our wishes. In the early 1900s, Sigmund Freud proposed that while all of our dreams, including our nightmares, are a collection of images from our daily conscious lives, They also have symbolic meanings, which relate to the fulfillment of our subconscious wishes. Freud theorized that everything we remember when we wake up from a dream is a symbolic representation of our unconscious primitive thoughts, urges, and desires. Freud believed that by analyzing those remembered elements, the unconscious content would be revealed to our conscious mind, and psychological issues stemming from its repression could be addressed and resolved.
All right, so that's the first one. But this time I'm going to ask some specific questions. So when we talk about unconscious or subconscious, and they also mention about these unconscious or subconscious desires. What do they mean? What's the difference between, according to this theory, between a conscious desire and an unconscious or subconscious desire?
I think that is about that something that is really deep in our mind that we want or that we fear, and the other one it's about some things that we want, like it's like more superficial, and it's not like it's not so permanent, so I don't know how to say it, so static in our minds.
Okay, the next one, how can you define or explain a symbolic representation?
A symbolic representation, it's like, in this case, like in the shoe, for example, the shoe can mean that we are going to walk long distance or something like that. It's an object or a person or a situation that is going to explain something deeper or something with a lot of meaning or more meaning than just that object.
Okay, thank you. The last one, and then you can give me more information about it. What is an urge or urges?
Urges?
An urge or urges. It's related to a type of desire.
In this case, I think that I don't know, teacher.
All right, we're going to get there. All right, so a specific word, we're going to go there, and you're going to know that by context, you understand. Then another one. At the end, they mention that there's a way to solve possible psychological problems. Are you able to understand how can we solve those problems?
I think that is knowing our dreams. We can know our fears, our desires, the thing that we want, the thing that we don't want, and you can work with that and know really what is going on with you. Sometimes you don't know what is going on with you, but in your subconscious, you know it. And sometimes in the dreams, they appear and it can help you because the video said that when you wake up, you only remember certain things that is related to the things that you need to work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Camila. I think it was great. Just to be sure about that word that I was asking you, let's listen to this part, and then you may tell me some other details that you remember. So let's pay attention here.
Thoughts, urges, and desires.
Okay, one more part.
Like representation of our unconscious primitive thoughts, urges, and desires.
All right, so over there, what is the meaning of urges in that specific case, according to the context?
Maybe things that are important or urgent. I don't know, teacher.
It's okay. You follow, right? If you follow common sense to that word, urgent, something urgent, it's something that needs attention, right? Urgently, with a lot of emphasis. So yes, so urges, right? Desires, fears, there are many of those things that are involved in this type of dreams, right? And as you were saying, here we have some symbolic representations, right, of some objects that may mean something, but according to that specific person, right? Fear, strength, insecurity. This is very related to psychoanalysis, right? Your mom, status, and lust. What is the meaning of lust, or how can you explain this word?
Something that you want, that you desire, but in the sexual thing, maybe, I don't know, it's like lujuria in Spanish, I think.
Okay, good. Yes, it's one of the capital sins, right? And it's related to sexual desire or something related to your sexual life, right? But desire, in fact. Good. That's it. Is there anything else that you want to add to this first theory? Camila, let me know, please.
I think that no, teacher.
All right, then let's go to the second one and we're going to finish with this one. All right, at least we're going to try to work this superficially, and on Thursday we're going to try to go deeper into this one and the next one. So we dream to remember is the next one. Here we go.
To increase performance on certain mental tasks, sleep is good, but dreaming while sleeping is better. In 2010, researchers found that subjects were much better at getting through a complex 3D maze if they had napped and dreamed of the maze prior to their second attempt. In fact, they were up to 10 times better at it than those who only thought of the maze while awake between attempts, and those who napped but did not dream about the maze. Researchers theorize that certain memory processes can happen only when we are asleep, and our dreams are a signal that these processes are taking place.
All right, for this one, I know because of time, I'm only going to ask two questions. One is going to be, why are they showing a maze over here? Let me show you the maze. Okay, there you go. Why are they showing a maze in this part of the explanation for this theory? And second, all right, what's the explanation for our dreaming according to this theory? What do you say?
Well, they talk about the maze because a study that they realized in 2020 explained that people that sleep only remember a certain part of the maze, but people that dream can have better qualities to remember that in a 3D mansion, for example. So they are better to resolve that maze because something is it's like a memory process that is going on in their dreams.
All right, thank you very much. Only one detail, I think everything is very, very good. Just be careful when you use the verb realize, right? For example, with studies, right? It's better if you say there was a study that they did. That's going to be better instead of using realize. And then the next one then, what is the purpose of dreaming? That you gave me an example about the maze, but at the end, they are giving a conclusion. What is the conclusion that they are giving at the end for the purpose of dreaming?
I think that they said about that was certain memory process going on that can allow people to remember better things and also to have a better perspective of what they are going on.
All right, I think one thing that you mentioned, it's like key to finish this one, right? You were mentioning memory processes. Then using that idea, how can you define dreaming according to this theory? Try to give me a definition. What is to dream?
It can be in this case, dreaming, it's a process that allows your mind to settle something.
Okay, I think that's a very good one. I'm going to play the last part one more time to add to that definition because I think it's very good.
Signal that these processes are.
Okay, so perhaps we can also give this definition. Listen to this part.
Signal that these processes are taking. can happen only when we are asleep, and our dreams are a signal that these processes are taking place.
All right, so perhaps also we can take, right, to dream the action of dreaming as a signal, right? So a dream or dreaming, right, is evidence or proof that certain memory processes are happening, right, in our heads, because that's the way in which the brain is going to process certain information, and then we're going to be able to remember that permanently in case it's important to us, right? So that's it. That's the only thing I wanted to add. Camila, I don't know if you have any questions, comments, or something before finish.
No, teacher, everything was clear, and actually I didn't know about this type of vocabulary, so it could help me a lot in the future.
That's good. That's great to know, Camila. Yes, we're going to continue watching some other theories, and I know you're going to be getting some extra vocabulary because, you know, it's always worth having more in our vocabulary. So that's it. Let's please fill out the survey before finishing, Camila, and then you may leave. All right?
Okay, teacher.
Great. Were you able to do it?
Yes.
Okay, good. So have a good night. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, teacher. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.